Number 72 hours of chaos, a Juneteenth weekend of violence. For most Americans, a holiday weekend means celebration, family gatherings, barbecues, music, friends, and a brief escape from the pressures of everyday life. But during the 2026 Juneteenth weekend, for many communities across the United States, the celebrations were overshadowed by tragedy. What should have been a weekend of remembrance and unity became a weekend marked by gunfire, emergency sirens, and scenes of chaos. Over the course of just a few days, multiple shootings were reported in different cities, leaving people asking a difficult question. Why does violence continue to erupt during some of America's biggest celebrations? And what does this reveal about the challenges facing the country today? This is the story of a Juneteenth weekend that many people will never forget. To understand what happened, we first need to understand the significance of Juneteenth. Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865. It marks the day when enslaved African Americans in Texas finally learned they were free, more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been issued. For generations, Juneteenth has been celebrated as a symbol of freedom, resilience, and progress. In recent years, the holiday has gained greater national recognition. Communities across the country organize parades, festivals, concerts, and public events. Millions of Americans gather to celebrate history, culture, and achievement. In 2026, preparations for Juneteenth celebrations began just as they do every year. Parks filled with people, families organized events, cities prepared for large crowds. The atmosphere was expected to be festive, but in several locations, that atmosphere would not last. As the weekend progressed, reports of violence began appearing across news outlets and social media. Emergency services responded to multiple incidents. Witnesses described moments of confusion and panic. Celebrations that had been filled with music and laughter suddenly became scenes of fear. In some areas, people ran for safety after hearing gunshots. Parents searched for children in crowds. Police officers rushed to secure locations and provide medical assistance. Ambulances transported victims to hospitals. For many families, the holiday changed forever in a matter of seconds. One of the questions frequently asked after such events is whether these incidents are connected. In most cases, the answer is no. The violence reported during holiday weekends often involves separate incidents occurring in different locations, different people, different circumstances, different motives. Yet when they occur within the same short period of time, they create the impression of a larger national crisis. And for many Americans watching the news, that perception can be deeply unsettling. Law enforcement agencies faced an enormous challenge throughout the weekend. Large public gatherings naturally require increased security. Thousands of people may gather in a single location. Roads become crowded. Emergency services are stretched across multiple events. When violence occurs, responders must act quickly, while also preventing panic among large crowds. Police departments across the country increased patrols and deployed additional officers to major events. Many cities also relied on surveillance systems, emergency response teams, and crowd management strategies designed to keep people safe. Yet even with these measures in place, preventing every act of violence remains extremely difficult. The deeper question is why these incidents occur in the first place. Experts point to several factors. Large gatherings bring together thousands of people, increasing the likelihood of conflicts. Disputes that might normally involve only a few individuals can escalate rapidly when crowds are present. Alcohol consumption can also contribute to poor decision-making and heightened emotions. In some cases, personal conflicts that began long before an event may unexpectedly resurface. Social media can further amplify tensions by spreading arguments and confrontations far beyond their original participants. None of these factors automatically lead to violence. Millions of people attend public celebrations peacefully every year. But when multiple risk factors combine, the consequences can be severe. For community leaders, the events of the weekend raised difficult concerns. Many argued that attention should remain focused not only on individual incidents, but also on the broader conditions that allow violence to persist. Questions were raised about public safety, youth programs, community investment, mental health support, conflict resolution initiatives, and access to resources that may help prevent violence before it begins. These discussions are not new. They have been taking place for decades, yet every major incident brings them back into the national conversation. Meanwhile, hospitals and emergency responders dealt with the immediate consequences. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, and emergency personnel worked long hours treating victims and supporting families. Behind every headline was a real person, a parent, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor. For those directly affected, statistics and news reports cannot fully capture the impact of a single violent moment. The emotional consequences often continue long after media attention moves elsewhere. As investigators reviewed evidence and examined individual cases, another reality became clear. The vast majority of people attending Juneteenth celebrations had come together peacefully. Millions celebrated without incident. Families gathered. Communities honored their history. Children played in parks. Neighbors shared meals. These moments rarely become national headlines, but they remain an important part of the story because the actions of a small number of individuals do not define an entire community or an entire holiday. Still, the violence of that weekend left a lasting impression. Images of emergency vehicles, crime scene tape, crowds running for cover, and grieving families became part of the public memory of the holiday. For many Americans, those images raised difficult questions about safety, community, and the future. Can large public celebrations remain safe in an era of increasing tensions? Can communities address the underlying causes of violence before tragedy occurs? And what responsibility do governments, community leaders, and citizens share in finding solutions? Perhaps the most important lesson from that weekend is that violence affects far more people than those directly involved. A single incident can alter an entire community. It can change how people view public events. It can create fear where there should be joy, and it can transform a celebration into a tragedy. The Juneteenth weekend of 2026 will be remembered for many reasons. For some, it will be remembered as a time of celebration. For others, it will be remembered as a time of loss. But for the country as a whole, it serves as a reminder that public safety remains one of the most complex challenges facing modern society. And until those challenges are addressed, the question will remain: how many more celebrations will end this way?